Did it start?
Well, all right. I think we should be good to go. Thank you so much for taking time out of your busy days to learn a little bit about personal branding, which I'm really passionate about and I've been doing a lot more work on in the last year and a half or so. So I wanted to teach you all some of the things that I've been implementing that have really worked for me that I want to share with all of you today. So we're going to go ahead and get started. Here's a little overview of some of the things that we will go over today. I'm going to start with 7 easy personal branding strategies that you can use. I know personal branding can be a little bit scary for some people, but I'm hoping today that you will see that it's not as scary as you might think, and it might be easier than you might think. So we'll go ahead and cover that. I'm going to end with a quick interactive workshop. I promise I won't make it too awkward for you all. We'll keep it nice and short and simple, but I'm hoping that you'll get some strategies that you can take home from that. And then I will take some time for questions. So if you think of any questions, feel free to write them down and I'll take them at the end of the presentation. I also have a little surprise for you guys. So the surprise is, this was a last minute idea that I had. We're going to do a little prize drawing at the end of the presentation, but you can only get a prize if you stay on for the whole time. So it's a little bit incentive for you to stay on and figure out what it might be. So we're going to have 3 winners of the prize drawing. So I wanted to tell you a little bit more about PC Nametag. If you aren't familiar with who we are and what we do, we are a meeting and event supplier in Verona, Wisconsin. So we've been in business for about 45 years. We were first founded in the 1980s and we have about 100 employees. We call ourselves taggers for PC Nametag, so we like to have a little fun with that. But the biggest things that we focus on at PC Name Tag are custom badges and event supplies. So if you think about all the different things that you would need when you are setting up a registration booth at a conference, we help bring those together. So if an event planner needs custom badges with everyone's names, everyone's companies, titles, headshots, we help print those. So that's cool. We also do lanyards, table throws, custom signage, on-site printing, anything that you would need for on-site registration. So super cool. We also have some badge preparation services, which is nice. I know a lot of you work with event planners, so if they're ever feeling a little frazzled about their event badges and need some help, send them our way and we'll be happy to send them your way as well. Oh, also a little bit of background about this picture. So we have this product called badge ribbons, and you might have seen them at conferences. They're little accessories that you can stick to the bottom of your event badge, and they can say pretty much anything. So it can be everything from speaker, VIP, vendor, exhibitor, all the way to whatever image that you want. We do custom badge ribbons. So one year we wanted to have a ribbon clothing contest. So what we did is we took 30 minutes and we had to make our best clothing item out of badge ribbons, and then the person who made the best outfit would win. So Karen here in the hat was the winner of our badge ribbon contest. So we like to have a little bit of fun. And just really quickly, a little bit more about PC Name Tag. We're really big in the Madison, Wisconsin community, but we're also really big in the events community. So we are really involved with different events and conferences in the industry. We've partnered with MPI, PCMA, IMEX, even NSA, which I'm going to talk about in just a second. We also are really big about helping in the community. This is a picture of Summer, and she is sorting canned goods to pick out ones that have expired expiration dates. And then for the ones that are good, she's putting them in boxes and we send them off to local food pantries. So that's part of the Share Your Holidays event in Madison. So if you're ever looking for a fun volunteerism opportunity, I would highly recommend checking that out. They take different teams to help with food insecurity in Madison. We love our customers. We always want to make sure that they have a great experience with us. And we're also really big on educational resources. That's one of the things that I do, which I'll tell you about in just a moment. But we really want to give back to the events community through educational resources. So we have an educational blog, an educational newsletter. We do a lot of videos. We have a podcast. So that's how we give back and we position ourselves as thought leaders within the events industry. Here's a little bit about me. So, as Gina mentioned, I'm the marketing communications specialist at PC Nametag. I've been here for about 5 years, which is exciting. I just hit my 5 year anniversary, so that's really important to me. And I am excited to be here with you all. I think when I started at PC Name Tag, I would have been way too scared to host something like this. So it's awesome to see how much progress I've made throughout my time at PC Name Tag. I graduated from UW-Eau Claire and I majored in communications and journalism. I actually didn't take any marketing classes in college, but I had a passion for creative writing, and that's how I got into content marketing, which is what I do for PC Name Tag. A little bit about me. I love dogs. I have two dogs of my own on the screen here. The one on the left is Missy, and the other one is Moose. So they keep me very busy, but I love them. I love a good coffee shop. I love, testing out different coffee shops in the Madison, Wisconsin area and seeing, which ones have the best lattes, the best chais. Love a good book. I have a goal of reading 50 books this year, and I think I'm on like 43 or something. So I think I'm going to be able to surpass it. So that's exciting. And I play the clarinet in the Oregon Community Band. So here's a little bit more about how I've worked with speakers in the past at PC Name Tag. So here's some fun pictures I was able to pull from my phone and from my computer. This was from the MPI Spring Education Day. Here's me with Eliz and Roger and Leanne, which was so cool. I wanted to take a little picture to post on LinkedIn, so I loved that. PC Name Tag was a sponsor of the Last Story Standing and the Breaking Through Live event earlier this year. So we sponsored thanks, Gun. We sponsored the name tags that I worked with Eliz on, and she created this beautiful image that we were able to print on the satin stickies. So we love supporting our local NSA Wisconsin chapter. I also love doing videos with keynote speakers. I think keynote speakers are some of like the friendliest, nicest, most knowledgeable, welcoming people in the events industry. So that's why I was so excited to be able to give this presentation to you all today. I was definitely a little nervous before we started today, but I love that keynote speakers are so welcoming and they're so encouraging. I think they're just great people. So here's some examples of little videos that I've done with different keynote speakers, and I mostly put them on the blog and on social media. Another little shout out to the Event Connection podcast. You might recognize Roger. I recently hosted a podcast, and this is PC Name Tags podcast that we started in about February this year. And Roger was local, and I wanted to learn more about what it means to be an MC. So, little shout out to our podcast. If you're a podcast person, we're on every single podcast platform that you can think of. So, if you want to listen to Roger's tips about what it means to be an MC, how to choose one, how to get the most out of working with your MC, I would definitely recommend it. So, little shout out to Roger. I was hoping you'd be on today, Roger. So, love to see you. Gina mentioned that I write for and manage the Tag Talk blog at PC Name Tag. So I took a few screenshots of some articles that I've written specifically about keynote speakers and networking. So I think I have about 120-ish blogs now that I've written over the past 5 years. So that was exciting. I started it in 2020 when I started here at PC Name Tag, and I've been able to grow it to over 15,000 subscribers. So it's exciting to have such a special community of event professionals that I can give tips, tricks, and strategies to on a weekly basis. All right, I'm hoping Gina can kind of help me with this if I can't see the comments, but I was hoping drop in the chat, what is the main topic that you speak about? I want to learn a little bit more about who you are and what you do. Yes, I just spoke with Roger about emotional intelligence. I think that's super interesting. Rick, negotiation skills. I see a lot of your posts on LinkedIn. Very cool. Let me see if I can open the chat here. All right, now I can see everybody. Oh,
Do you want to
nice.
read them or do you want help, Megan?
Go ahead, Gina.
Okay, so we have, they're going fast for me too. We have The Power of Proper Goal Setting with Bill Humbert. Nicole, How to Create Mentally Healthy Workplaces. Glenn, Self-Mastery and Healing Childhood Trauma. Cindy, Kindness and Emotional Intelligence in the Workplace.
That's exciting.
Lindsay, is it Retzloff? Trauma-Informed Mental Health. Sherry, Transformation with Monarch Butterflies and Leading with Love.
I love that.
I
That's
think you
fun.
mentioned Rick with negotiation skills. Gonna scroll back down. What else we have? Tony, help families transform financial stress and uncertainty into clarity, confidence, and peace of mind. And Tara does a lot of personal branding too. Amber, authenticity, navigating change. Kent, the 4 R's of operational readiness. AI and change management. Adrian, marketing and mindset mastery. Sorry, AI and change management was Sherry. All right. I think that
Wow.
covered most of them.
Lots of great topics.
Yes,
Sounds
if
like,
I didn't catch
yeah.
everybody, my apologies.
Thank you so much. That helped me get a little bit better idea of who's all tuning in and how we can help give all these great tips for all of the different subjects that you speak about. Thanks so much for sharing. I have another quick question for you all. What does personal branding mean to you? Maybe in just a couple words or a sentence. Feel free to drop that in the chat. Anything that comes to mind. No wrong answers. All right, great. Oh, that's a good one, Gina. What people think about you when you are not in the room. We're going to touch on that a lot today. Standing out from the crowd, awareness, leading with authority. I love that. Authenticity, yes. I think being your authentic self is really important, and what you have to offer is great. I think sometimes we kind of downplay ourselves and what we have to offer and all the knowledge that we have, and we take it for granted. Content marketing is something that I know a lot about, but not a lot of other people know about. So, what are those things that I can share with you all? So, that's what we'll be chatting about today. Making your story visible, real and authentic. I love that, Roger. Great. I think a lot of you are on the right track, and I'm hoping that even if you don't know too much about personal branding or if you feel like you're a pro, hoping that we can teach you some really awesome tips that you can take home and use right away after this presentation. All right, and the very last question I have, if you had to rate yourself on a scale of 1 to 10, with 1 being I'm completely new to personal branding, to 10, you feel really solid in it, how would you rate yourself? I'm looking to see what we can start with, and then maybe I'm going to ask at the end and we'll kind of see how we've grown. All right, I'm seeing some high numbers. That's awesome. Okay, great. I know at the MPI Wisconsin Spring Education Day, there was a keynote speaker on personal branding. That really inspired me. I learned a lot from her. Oh, great. Looks like we have some lower numbers, middle numbers, and higher numbers. So that's exciting. Hopefully, I can teach you all a little tidbit, no matter where you are, that you can get inspired by. All right, let's go ahead and get started. So I have picked 7 easy personal branding tricks that you can use to increase your personal branding and increase your brand visibility. So what is personal branding? Personal branding is how you appear both online and offline. So if someone thinks of Roger Walkoff, let's say. What comes to their mind? What is he best known for? So what you can do is you can utilize your best skills, your best values, your experiences, put them online, put them offline, and really show the different things that you shine in. So that's building trust with the right audience, building your credibility, and really differentiating yourself online. So I want to start with our first tip that I have. And I think the first tip, which I know keynote speakers know a lot about, but I'm hoping I can dive a little bit deeper into today, is knowing your audience and what motivates them. Here's a quick activity that I wanted to do. If you think about your local Target store and the different people that shop there, what are they buying? What brings them into the store? What do they like to shop for there? What brings them in? What entices them to come to Target? What are some things, what are some people that might shop at Target? If anyone wants to unmute themselves and pitch something.
Well, I would offer the fact that it's just convenient, right? I was in a town just the other day, not knowing my way around, but it was easy to find this, and not wanting to be a huge Target shopper these days, but it's what was accessible for us, and I knew we would find what we needed there.
Great, thanks, Gina. Anyone else?
I would say the quality, right? Quality for a reasonable price.
Great, perfect. One thing that comes to my mind is back to school. So
Mhm.
that's targeting parents. There's people who do the online checkout. So they want to get their online orders. Maybe there's teens looking for new outfits. So those are some examples of the different people that might be shopping at Target. So this is a good example of, if you think of Target, they have a whole bunch of different groups of people who shop there. So for example, if you are creating a whole bunch of content for back to school, that might not resonate with a teen looking for a new outfit or someone who only goes to Target to shop for groceries, let's say. So it's really important to think about all those different target audiences that you have and create content that resonates with those different people. So for example, when I'm writing for the Tag Talk blog, what I write for HR managers might not resonate with a corporate event planner, let's say. So we're going to talk a little bit how to create those personas. So, if you haven't heard of what a persona is, it's essentially a semi-fictional representation of who your ideal client is. And this is based off of real market research and real data that you have. And I'll tell you a little bit more about how you can do this yourself. So, for example, if you think about what are their demographics, what are their behavior patterns, what motivates them, what really frustrates them, and how do they consume content. So for example, some younger people might prefer to watch your content on TikTok nowadays, whereas some other people might prefer to read it on LinkedIn. Why do personas matter to professional speakers? One of the biggest things is making sure that you're really focusing on those qualified prospects. So if you're, putting a lot of effort into people who might not be as high value, that's not a great use of your time. And also making sure that you're retaining those clients over time, bringing in new clients, and really driving that stronger content creation strategy, which we'll talk about today. So it's really just about making sure that all of your content that you create is best suited to your target audience and your best clients. Here's a quick story that when I was thinking about personas. So I recently did a tag tip video. We call them tag tips at PC Name Tag, where this speaker, Sarah Wells, she is an Olympic hurdler. I thought that was kind of cool. And we got connected through PC Name Tag and the Tag Talk blog, and she wanted to just have a little chat with me. I did do an interview with her, which was really cool. But she came to me and she wanted to know, I'm doing this keynote speech to event professionals. How can I understand what really frustrates them or what motivates them so that I can kind of change up my speech a little bit to really get to them? So we just chatted about, what would best drive with them. And she was able to, rework her keynote speech to best suit what they would identify with. Here's some examples of what personas might look like for a keynote speaker. All of you are different, so you really have to just think about who is a best fit for you, and we'll talk about that in a second. But here's some examples of who the different audiences you might have and the different content that you might create to appeal to these different audiences. At PC Name Tag, I have created some persona profiles that I've used to help tailor different content that I have. So just some examples are, I use them to tailor social posts. So for example, I learned that event planners really like volunteering. They really like animals. They like kids. They like podcasts. So what can I do to kind of tailor that language and that content to appeal to those interests and even some of those challenges that they have? Different articles. I write about a whole bunch of different event planning topics, from event technology to experiential events, attendee engagement, different things like that. So I'm trying to think about who is my ideal reader for this article and how can I tweak what I'm writing about to best appeal to them. Different solutions, different event planners have different priorities. So for example, some will spare no expense on their event badges, whereas some are looking to do it more DIY. So it's a good idea to think about who's reading and how I can best reach what they want. And also tailoring content to different platforms. I think that's one thing that I used to mess up on a little bit on in earlier in my career. So I was putting the same piece of content on every single platform, Facebook, LinkedIn, TikTok, X. So, but then I realized, by putting all my eggs in every single basket, that was taking a lot of my time when maybe it was a better idea to return to my personas, see which platforms they're actually using, and let's just focus on two and get those in a really great spot. So that's an example of how I've focused on just LinkedIn and Instagram. We also post to other platforms, but those are my bread and butter platforms. So how do you create personas? I know people want to know kind of how I did this. So I've kind of tailored this to keynote speakers. So first, I would say identify who your best fit clients are. So who are the organizations that you've worked with and what made them a really great fit? Was it their energy? Was it their industry? Was it their event vibe? So write those in a list. Next, what I would do is figure out who the titles of the people who have hired you in the past are. So is it a corporate event planner? Is it an HR person? And look them up on LinkedIn. See their profile. What are some of the people that they follow? What are the podcasts that they listen to? Do they volunteer? What is their level of education? And do those for similar job titles as well. So say you look up this person, they're a corporate event planner. Look up other corporate event planners on LinkedIn and start seeing those patterns that you're seeing. So for example, how old are they? What are some of the previous jobs that they've held? What are the influencers that they follow? Do they have activities and hobbies do they really like? Their accolades, groups they participate in. And what you can do is as you look at these job titles, you can start seeing different patterns between the groups. So I'm saying, oh, wow, this type of persona really loves podcasts. They really love volunteering. They love kids. They, might have worked previously at a university, let's say. So that really can help you understand who they are and what they value and kind of their career progression. Next, I like to give them a little fun name. So you're trying to take all of these different patterns and compile it into a semi-fictional person, which I'll show you an example of that next. But I like to give them a fun name so it's easy to remember, like corporate planner Carrie. And then within a persona profile, and you might have multiple, like 3 to 5, let's say, you can put together what are the different findings that you got from doing your, I like to call it sleuthing on LinkedIn. So here's an example of a real persona profile that I have helped create at PC Nametag, and this is way more involved than you probably need, but you can kind of see how we set up. So this is meeting an event planner page, and this is a profile of who this person is. What do they aspire to be? What are their pain points? Um, what are their skills, their level of seniority? What are the different platforms that they're using? Which I'll tell you a little tip of how you can figure that out in a second. But if you want to kind of create persona profiles, there are so many different templates online that you can download. So I would just look up free persona template and you can fill it in yourself or just keep it in a Word document. Don't make it too overcomplicated. Just list the information that you need. So I wanted to give a little tip for you. So at PC Nametag, we use this software called SparkToro, and you can actually start using it for free if you'd like to dabble around in it. But it's really great for market research. So what we've used it in the past for is to help build out these persona profiles. But you can also kind of dig into different groups of people and what they enjoy consuming, which I'm going to show you an example of in the next slides. But so what are the podcasts that they're listening to, publications that they follow, social platforms that they are using, common hashtags that they like using. So I'll give you a little inside look at what that looks like. So I went into SparkToro, and we do have a paid subscription, so I might have a little bit more access to other information than you might have with the unpaid, but this is an example of how we've used it. So I looked for motivational speaker. So anybody who searches motivational speaker in the United States in Google, here are the information that SparkToro can pull on them. So people are searching motivational speaker between 15 and 21,000 times a month, which is really cool. You can see when they're searching for motivational speakers. So that's kind of cool if you want to see when that spikes in Google. Here's a gender breakdown of the different people that are searching for that. And by the way, all of this information is pulled from social profiles. So it's crawling, Facebook profiles, LinkedIn profiles, Instagram profiles. That's how we get that from there. You can see the different industries that they work in. I thought this was interesting. So I've always had a thought of what social platforms people might be on, but SparkToro is really great to be like, okay, the people who search motivational speaker, here are the social platforms that they're using. So this is a good way to see, okay, I'm going to put more effort into LinkedIn. I'm going to put more effort into Medium. I thought that was interesting. They're on TikTok, they're on X, Vimeo. I'm not sure what this cat one is, but looks like they're using Pinterest. So you can kind of deduce from there. They value education, they value more visual content. So kind of interesting look at that. Here are the websites that they're loving. So people who search motivational speaker are going to these websites. So this is an example of you could go check out these websites, see what content they're posting, and get inspired by what people who search for motivational speaker are enjoying. Here's the different YouTube channels that they're following, different podcasts that they listen to, and not every one of them is going to be specifically motivational speaker driven, but it's not a bad thing because then you can see what they're interested in. So, for example, podcasting business school. Wouldn't have known that unless I looked at SparkToro. So here are my final thoughts on personas, making sure that you're figuring out who your target audience is, what motivates them, where do they spend their time, what frustrates them, and using this information to attract your ideal clients. Here's a quick tip that I wanted to put in there. If you build out your persona profiles, you can actually use that information to tailor your pitch decks to different personas. So you can help the information that you put in there land with that person. All right, we're gonna go ahead to tip number 2. So that one was probably the most in-depth tip that I have, and we'll kind of make it a little bit more simple from here. By the way, I will give everyone the slideshow afterwards, so if you don't feel like taking a whole bunch of notes, I'll make sure that you can get the slide deck. Next, we want to create content that your audience will love. I know content creation can seem very scary to some people. It's a lot of work, it's a lot of planning, it's a lot of posting and scheduling, and it can be a little overwhelming for people. And I'm hoping that I can create a little less fear about creating content after this presentation. I know a lot of you are probably familiar with content, but if you aren't as familiar, content is anything that you post online or produce in person that engages, educates, and entertains your specific audience. So some examples that would be content are blog posts, videos, infographics, podcasts, social posts, ebooks, white papers, and email newsletters. So you might be thinking, okay, that's a lot. Where do I get started? And I'm a content marketing specialist, so I want to show you that it can be a lot of fun and it really helps tie in with your personal branding and helping yourself stand out. So here's where I started when I was a baby content specialist. So there is this book called They Ask You Answer, and I have it here. It's by Marcus Sheridan, and I would say this is a really great book to start with if you're looking to figure out how to produce content. It's called They Ask You Answer. So essentially, the idea behind the book is you want to understand what your target audience is asking and how can you answer those questions and be that thought leader to help them solve those challenges that they have. So you can use this ideology to attract new clients, nurture them, make learning fun, and just appear trustworthy no matter where you are, in person or online. Over the years, I have compiled some places that you can look to see what people are asking in your industry. So this one was kind of a hidden tip. Look in TikTok comments. So if you look at burnout, let's say that's your focus, you can look up videos about burnout and see what people are asking the creator in the comments. Just take those questions and answer them yourself in a blog or a newsletter or a LinkedIn post. I'm a little bit newer to Reddit, but subreddits can be good because people are coming there, they're asking their questions, they're getting real answers from people. Same with Quora. I don't have a lot of experience with Quora, but it's kind of like a similar community-driven question repository. This one's kind of cool. You can go to Google, and if you type in your topic or your question, you can look at the people also ask drop downs in Google. So that kind of populates questions that people are asking related to that topic. Take those questions, create content around that. You can always browse industry forums or just ask your specific audience, what do they want to learn about? I have sent out surveys in the past to the Tag Talk community. What are some, content pieces that you'd like to see? And then I know that's what they're looking for, and then I can create for that. If you're interested in this book, here's an overview of what the book talks about. So this is more geared towards business owners, I would say, and entrepreneurs. But if you want to, start with the basics of what's the content that I can write about as a business owner, here are the different big five that they talk about within the book. So you can talk about cost and pricing, like what do they get when they book you? Problem solving, how do you make their lives easier? Comparison, what makes you stand out from other keynote speakers in your space? Reviews, what are people loving about your keynote speeches? And then best in class, what makes you the best person to hire? So I would definitely recommend this book. It's very approachable and it's easy to read, and it gave me a lot of inspiration for getting started as a content marketer. Okay, great, awesome. I have these great content ideas. How do I get the most out of my work? This is another thing that I implemented when I was a baby content marketer. So this strategy is called the Big Rock strategy, and essentially it's just another word for content repurposing. So let's say you have that rock in the middle, and it's this piece of content that you poured your heart and soul into. Let's say it's a 2,000 word blog or it's an ebook that you wrote. How can you get the most out of all that work that you put in to that piece of content? So the idea behind this is to chisel out different pieces of content from that bigger piece so that you can get the most bang for your buck. Here's some examples of how you might repurpose a blog post. I got this graphic from the internet. So you can see if you start with a blog post, maybe there's a bulleted list in there that you could turn into a graphic, or maybe you could turn it into a podcast. Could you do a video overview about what you talked about in the blog? If you need another book recommendation, I have this called Create Once, Distribute Forever. This is all about content repurposing. So if you're looking to make that a little more easy to understand, I would definitely recommend checking out that book. If you want to get an example that's more geared towards keynote speakers, I made this example up. So let's say that you wrote this article, 5 mistakes to avoid when booking a professional speaker. What are the different ways that you could turn that into other pieces of content? For example, you could take each of those little mistakes and turn it into a newsletter. So there you go. You have 5 different newsletters that you can send. Maybe you tease out the first 5 mistakes in this article, but you have to download this cheat sheet to get the full 10. So that kind of intrigues someone to take that next step to engage with you again. And they get a great downloadable that they can keep. And if they reference back to it, you're the first person that comes to mind.
Meaghan, can I jump in here for
Sure.
just a second? We all shared our topics earlier, and if you didn't make the connection just now, I think you could take your topic and put 5 mistakes to avoid when blah, 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 right? For mine would be networking skills, 5 mistakes to avoid
Perfect.
when networking. And then all of these things apply for creating our own content. If you didn't make that connection, I wanted to make sure I put them together.
Love it. I actually was inspired. The National Speakers Association came out with an ebook all about keynote speeches, and I took that and I was inspired to create my own content. So that was really cool. You can turn into a poll, you can turn into a LinkedIn carousel. LinkedIn carousels are really easy to make. All you have to do is create a Canva design, you download it as a PDF, and then you can upload it to LinkedIn as a document. And then there you go. You have a clickable carousel that people can click through. So if you're new to that, I would definitely recommend checking that out. And of course, videos are big, which we'll talk about soon. As a little wrap up of our tip 2 is really positioning yourself as a thought leader in your specific space on your specific subject that you talk about. So what are those things that people are asking? What do they really want to know about? Can they come to you for those answers? And when you do produce those answers, what are the different content forms that you can deliver that to them in, whether it's video, a newsletter, a blog, a podcast? lots of different elements that you can incorporate. If you're stuck, I would definitely recommend just asking ChatGPT or Gemini or whatever AI program that you use. It's a great brainstorming partner. So if you're stuck, just ask it, how can I repurpose this piece of content into other mediums? And it will give you at least a starting point that you can use. All right, tip number 3. I would highly recommend creating a content calendar. And I know this seems like a lot of work, but being prepared helps so much when you are just sitting at your computer. I don't know what LinkedIn post I should put today. So, what I do at the beginning of each month is I just plan out for the month ahead of what I want to post that day. And let's say that I have event photography that pops up. Okay, I'm going to swap that in for Tuesday instead. It's kind of like it's not a static document. It's just something that gives you inspiration, helps you have guidance ahead of time. You can also check your content balance. So you can say, hey, I'm posting a lot of videos this week. Maybe I want to throw in a Canva design that I create. If you get stuck on how to fill your content calendar, I put together this cheat sheet right here of a list that you can come back to. And what you can do is you don't have to post every single day. Maybe that's too much for you. Maybe you want to just post 2 or 3 times a week on LinkedIn, let's say. But the more you post, the more the algorithm will prioritize your content. So if you want to just pick, 2 or 3 of these a week and put them on, I think that's a great starting point for your content calendar.
Hey, Megan.
Yes.
Roger has a question about using ChatGPT or any AI tool to create a content calendar. Have you done that?
I have so much content to post that usually I can fill it pretty quickly. I think a key to it is making sure you stretch what you've created as far as you can. So, for example, I did my podcast with Roger, and I think I picked out like 8 little clips. Boom, you have 8 social posts that you can put onto LinkedIn or Facebook. So, that's a really great idea, though. So, I know if you were having a little trouble, maybe you can say, oh, I can use ChatGPT. How can I fill my content calendar? Here's all the different content that I want to highlight this month. And then it could help you format that. Good question, Roger. Everyone has a different approach to how they format their calendar, but if you want a calendar that's a little more flexible, I use this program called Asana. It's basically a project management software, and you can use it for free. So what I do is I just note the date I want to put it out, the platform I want to put it on, and then a little title of what I want to put out that day. It's nice because this responds to what you click. So if I click in progress, it'll jump it down to like my in progress section of the project. You can assign different people to it, which that might be helpful in your organization when it should be due, when it should go live, the different platforms that you might want to put it on. So like let's say I'm gonna put this for LinkedIn, but I also want to repurpose it for Facebook. So if that's too much for you, you can always just keep it in a spreadsheet or whatever works for you. One thing I'd love to stress is that most social platforms allow you to schedule posts. So you don't always have to be on LinkedIn every single day to make a post in the moment. So all of these different platforms have opportunities for you to make a post and then schedule it. So one thing I've been doing lately is on Monday, I just take an hour and I do 5 different posts and I just schedule it throughout the week. Boom, I don't have to do any more with it the rest of the week. So that helps me get ahead and feel prepared and make sure that I'm consistently posting. If this seems like a lot for you, there's tools called social media scheduling tools, and it will help you schedule from one specific spot and it will shoot the social posts out to the different platforms that you pick. So this is an example of HubSpot's social media scheduler. It's part of our CRM, so I'm not sure that you can use this just on its own, but there are so many different scheduling tools if this is something that would make your life a little easier. You can put in the copy, you can pick the image or the video, you can even put like, oh, I want this to be like the first comment on my Instagram post or the first comment on my LinkedIn post, and you can pick when you'd like it to go out. Final thoughts. Social posts can be a lot, but if you have a plan that you can at least loosely follow, I think that can help hold you accountable to keep on your posting schedule. Don't be afraid to repost content that you've already posted. Chances are not everyone's going to see that one post that you create. If you want to reschedule it for the next month, go ahead. Tip number 4. I love newsletters. I write and manage the Tag Talk newsletter at PC Nametag. It's an educational newsletters for event enthusiasts. So I just talk about different tips, tricks, strategies, things I'm seeing in the industry, different trends. If I go to an event, I'll say, here's the 5 lessons I learned from attending NACE experience, let's say. People really enjoy it. A little bit of background of how I started my newsletter in 2020 at PC Nametag. So we did have a blog and we did have a newsletter when I started, but a lot of it was very salesy. So for example, an article might be like, here's the brand new lanyard we just launched. Here's all the different like the different things that you could use it for, or the different elements of it. And in my mind, that's not exactly what people are coming to newsletters and blogs for. They're coming to learn things. So I completely flipped this over into more of like an educational approach, and it's grown to 15,000 subscribers in the last 5 years, which is really cool and really exciting. So I think my biggest thing with Tag Talk is I'm trying to create a community. I don't want it to just be a newsletter or just be a blog. I want it to be somewhere that people can continuously come for inspiration. And I know you all can do something similar with what you focus on. So here's just a little example of how I just met with these people and I did a little video with them, and I was able to repurpose that into a newsletter. So all of these different videos talked about DE&I in the events industry, and I also threw in just some for fun resources people can check out. So hey, maybe you're not interested in the DE&I videos, but you can check out these different resources. And then I always end with a little note for me. I really want to highlight my personality. This is interesting. I'll have people stop by our booth when I'm working events and they'll be like, hey, like I recognize you from your newsletter that you send. So even though I've not met them before, they're recognizing me just by having that consistent touch point with them through the newsletter. Here's some examples of how I've made the newsletter a little bit more engaging. I like to have different resources that people can check out. So maybe these aren't resources that PC Nametag has created or that I've created, but it's something that people can engage with and click in the newsletter. Here's a little video that I did with Eliz. She did a little video with me of, are you an iguana or a border collie? It's like your personality type. And that one got a ton of clicks. So if you meet with someone, you do a little video, highlight it in your newsletter. As a note, you can't embed videos in newsletters in email yet, but if you do just a video thumbnail, people click on it. You could shoot them over to a LinkedIn post where you have the video posted on YouTube and linked to there. So I think there's some workarounds that you can utilize for that. I have some engagement questions. So if someone clicks this, it'll open up a reply to me so that they can answer this question of the week. That's been kind of fun to hear from real people that subscribe to my newsletter. And this is just an example of a little tips video that I did. So I made it look kind of like a video player. So people, when they click it, it jumps them over to YouTube to watch it. Some other things, I've really tried to make my newsletter feel like me. So I have some humor. I try to be, a little bit silly in it. Like a couple weeks ago, I went to NACE Experience in Milwaukee and it was so much fun. And something that they had at that event was a multicultural tasting experience. So I just wanted to give this as like a quick tip of how you can engage your attendees. So I just have this little fun, call out of me to make people laugh. I want them to have something that they can get excited for and want to tune in to each week. Here's an example of a poll that I embedded that was kind of cool. And then just having fun with graphics. This was a new ebook that I put out, and I just threw that into Canva. They have templates that you can just throw the image in and it auto-populates it for you. So you can have a lot of fun in Canva. So you might be thinking, Meaghan, I'm not an email marketer. I can't pull off newsletters like that. So where do you start? I would highly recommend starting with a LinkedIn newsletter because you already have an audience on your LinkedIn, and all you have to do is when you start a post, you can click write article, and then it pops you over to this super, super easy to use formatting tool. Last night, I actually wrote a little article about my chat with Roger. So if you're interested in that, I put it on my own LinkedIn newsletter they have. I call it Meaghan's Event Musings. So my focus of that is just bite-size event tips that you can implement as an event planner. So a lot of event planners want to know, what should I be looking for in an MC? So I took my podcast that I did with Roger and I just reformatted it into a newsletter. You can also see stats on your LinkedIn newsletters, which is really interesting. So when people subscribe to your newsletter, it will email them if they have an email for them. So you can see, I'll go to this next one. You can see how many people they were able to send my newsletter to. What was the open rate? 40% is pretty good. You can see the different reactions, comments, reposts. So my newsletter is a little bit new, so I'm still getting that off the ground, but I started it in February and I already have 228 subscribers, which is cool. So that's another touch point that you can have with your audience on LinkedIn. If LinkedIn isn't your bread and butter, this is something that our marketing intern uses. I'm a little bit new to it, but it looks cool. It's called Substack, and it's just a place that you can write your own newsletters and you can drive people to just put in their email and they automatically get emailed when you write a new newsletter. So it seems really easy to use, and I think you can, put in your own media, whether it's a video, a picture, links, anything that you want to put in to make it more engaging. If you do already have a newsletter, I have some tips and tricks. If you ever want to connect with me on another time and chat through your newsletter with me, I'd love to chat with you. I think my biggest takeaway is you are enough and your thoughts and your personality are great. People want to hear what you have to say. So I would say make it really embody your personality. I've had a lot of luck with having more like interactive elements in my newsletter. So this could even be just hyperlinks to other content that you've created to drive people to your website, drive people to your social media, your blog. You could put photos, those video thumbnails that if they click it, it jumps them over to YouTube. Buttons that people can click. This is one thing I would recommend. I like putting a little emoji in the subject line because when people are looking at their inbox and it's all black and white, but they see your little emoji that's like a little red heart, that immediately makes their eyes go to your newsletter. So I usually put just one emoji at the beginning with a fun subject line.
Meaghan, can I ask a quick question?
Yeah, of course.
There's a question about folks that already have a newsletter in one platform. Can they just start another one in LinkedIn? Should it be the same? How would
Good
you feel about
question.
that?
I know in Substack you can import your current email list into it. So that could be an easy way to shift straight onto Substack. With LinkedIn, it's a little bit different. I had to start it from scratch, but what you can do is once you start it, you can go through your LinkedIn connections and invite people to it. I also believe that when you connect with someone new, it will automatically invite them to subscribe to your newsletter. So it kind of builds itself from that standpoint. So I guess it just depends what your goal is for your newsletter. Good question. This is another fun email marketing tip that you can use. So in some email programs, you can change who the from person is. So for example, it might default to PC name tag blog. Like, okay, that's not super fun. Whereas I've changed it to Meaghan at PC name tag. So now when people see my emails pop up in their email feed, they see it's Meaghan from PC name tag. I think people tend to trust people over brands sometimes. So if that's a way that I can seem more personable in my newsletter, that's a super easy thing to update. You'd have to look into your own email program to see how to do that, but you can just look up how to change the from person for your email. Another big thing is long paragraphs. people aren't going to read that. So if you can section out your newsletter into chunks, or maybe break it up with a picture in the middle, or break it up with a video thumbnail, I think that makes it easier to browse. Long paragraphs get to be a lot, so definitely kind of break those up a little bit. And then the last tip that I would give is make the newsletter about the people reading. It's not always about you. Make sure that they're getting the most out of your newsletter by giving them tips, giving them strategies, giving them resources that you create. And if you're not sure what they want, just ask. Here's a quick exercise. We'll just take, 30 seconds in your mind, and we won't share these out loud. Think of an article that you could possibly write in the next coming weeks, let's say. So here's some prompts if you need a little bit of help getting started. So blank reasons to, mistakes to avoid, different strategies you can use, different questions to ask about a specific topic. So what you can do is you can write this article, and then you can turn it into a newsletter, turn it into a video, a graphic, whatever works. So I'll give just a little bit of time to think of an example that you could write yourself. Right, perfect. And I will give you these slides if you want to think a little bit more about these article ideas. I also wanted to throw out these prompts. So if you're like, nothing's coming to my mind, I don't know what to write about, use ChatGPT. I ChatGPT these prompts for keynote speakers. So take one of these and roll with it, and make sure to cater it to your audience and your subject that you write about and speak about. All right, we'll keep moving. Video content is big. I think nowadays people have very, very short attention spans, whereas in the past people were willing to, get their coffee in the morning. I'm going to take 15 minutes out of my day and I'm going to read this entire article from top to bottom. Now people's consumption habits are just different. Maybe they're opening your blog and they're looking at headers and they're just kind of skimming the different things. That isn't to say that writing a full blog is not worth your time. But video content is getting to be a little bit more popular, especially with TikTok and Instagram Reels becoming more popular. So it's a great way to highlight your personality and repurpose content. So let's say you put out a new ebook, a new podcast, a new article, create a video about it. If you are running how to get started with videos, this is also free. I use a program called StreamYard, and essentially it's almost like a Teams meeting or a Zoom meeting. You just pop on here either by yourself. You can invite other people to pop into your studio, and you just hit record, and it creates this really nice looking video for you. After you record the video, you can also repurpose it into different formats. So it's like, okay, I shot this, I want to turn it into these separate snippets into a reel, or I want to make sure it's formatted for my YouTube channel. You can do that right in StreamYard. So it's kind of cool. More Roger. I didn't realize I put so much Roger in here, but we love that. We are going to optimize our YouTube channel. So if you do have a YouTube channel, I would recommend sorting your videos into categories. So on PC Name Tag's channel, we have a category of just our podcast episodes. We have a category of just our shorts, just our event tag tips. So that's an easy way for if people come to your YouTube channel, they know exactly what they want to look for. They're going to click in, and that helps them consume it better. I traditionally haven't done a lot with shorts, so I'm a little bit new to that, but I think people are using YouTube for scrolling now, kind of like TikTok nowadays. So if you're creating TikToks, you're creating Reels, cross-post it to your YouTube, and all it has to be is 60 seconds or less, and then filmed vertically on a phone, let's say. So I took some clips of my podcast that I did with Roger. I put it on YouTube, and it already has a bunch of views. So good win for me. I wanted to throw out some other kind of unexpected PR opportunities that you can take advantage of that I would recommend. The first one is Featured. So this is a free website, and different journalists can ask questions and you can respond as an expert. And if they pick your quote, they put it in their article and you get a free backlink to your LinkedIn, your website, your social, whatever you kind of want them to link to. So if you use the free option, you get 3 answers per month, which I just use the free option. But this has been cool. I found some questions people are asking. You can see an example down here. As an entrepreneur, how do you balance chasing innovation with avoiding burnout? So Tech Bullion is asking that, and you can answer it. I have had my quotes picked by 10 different articles, including the American Association and GoDaddy. So you just never really know who will pick up your quotes, but it's a good way to get your brand out there without spending any money. All you have to do is share your thought leadership. Be a guest on a podcast. I know that Gina was saying she might be interested in being on our podcast. So if any of you are interested, let me know. We just started our podcast in February and it's kind of getting off the ground, but this is a great way to just ask other creators, hey, are you looking for a guest on your podcast? I'd love to chat about this subject, or like, let's talk together to figure out what your audience would get the most out of as far as something that I could talk about. Cross promote with another speaker. Sometimes I meet just really great people who would love to just pop on a video with me. We film a 10-minute video and then I ask 5 different questions, chunk it out. There you have 5 different video clips that you couldn't put on social. So this was a little video that I did with Sarah Wells, the Olympian. So you just never really know who you're going to meet. And I like to share my video clips with the other speaker or the other interviewee so that they can also post those and tag you back. Good way to reach new audiences. This was fun. Use user-generated content. So if you have a client who really, really loves working with you, ask them if they would be willing to help you film on-site content. This is an example of a badge ribbon customer who just did this unboxing video of his funny ribbons. This is kind of funny. He does this, he's like an artist and he has this company called Butts on Things, which is just really funny. So it's completely G-rated, but he just does little drawings of like different butts on different objects. It's really cute if you want to look that up on Instagram. But he got badge ribbons from us and he was really excited to give them out at, I think it was for Comic-Con he took them to. So he posted that on his Instagram and his story and it got a ton of views. So that was visibility that we didn't have to put any effort into. Get on speaker directories. I won't take too much time for this, but I have an article that we wrote for Tag Talk with 10 different speaker directories that you can get on. I'm not sure if they're free or paid, but if this is something that you want to get listed on, you can always check out this article that we wrote. And once I send out the slides, you can click on that and check it out. And then here is my very last tip that I have for you. I think optimizing your LinkedIn profile is kind of an unexpected way that you can get more visibility. And these statistics completely changed my mind of how I think about LinkedIn, and it might make you feel better about what you post. So I learned, and this is from LinkedIn, 99% of people don't post on LinkedIn, which is crazy. People might have profiles and they might, go on there to scroll, but they're not posting anything. So the way I see that is if you are posting literally anything at all, you are winning. That is more real estate for you to take up on LinkedIn. I think LinkedIn is so thirsty for content too, that if you post something, it's going to have a longer shelf life than if you posted it on Facebook, let's say, because it's really eager to want that content. It's going to carry that as long as possible. Like I'll post something and a week later, it's still getting engagement, which is awesome. That's why I love LinkedIn. This is also interesting. 52% of people read thought leadership content on LinkedIn for at least an hour a week. So you can kind of step in and be that person posting the thought leadership. And then this is another thing I wanted to highlight. 92% of people don't comment on LinkedIn posts. So let's say you make a LinkedIn post and you're like, oh, I got 2 comments and 5 likes. Oh, that stinks. I think you have to remember that not everyone is going to actively interact with your posts. It might get in front of their eyes, but maybe they're not liking it or commenting on it or sharing it, and that's okay. And it comes down to this new ideology called dark social. So basically, people are seeing your posts, they're consuming it, but then they're not necessarily interacting with it on LinkedIn or sharing it on LinkedIn. They're taking it back to their offices, their peers, their coworkers, their industry connections and chatting about it there. So those are engagements that you can't necessarily track, but just know that the content that you post is important and it's making an impact. All right, I'll go through these really quickly. So I have 12 easy things that you can probably do today to up your LinkedIn game, which is exciting. First, you want to make sure that your profile is public. I'm sure most of you are probably good with that, but some people have them set to private, and it's really hard to find you if your profile is set to private. Next is to update your profile URL. So when you create your LinkedIn, it just auto-generates the back end of your URL. I updated mine to be Meaghan-Maybee, so that's way easier to share in my email signature, on my business card, and in my social profiles. I'm sure you all have a really great headshot, but it makes a big difference if you have a headshot where you're smiling and look engaging. And according to LinkedIn, this makes your profile 14 times more likely to be viewed if you have a high resolution photo of yourself smiling. This is one thing I kind of did a little wrong for a few years is think about your profile banner and really make use of that space. This is like prime real estate for you to share about yourself, and I'll show you my profile in a second. But I just used to have like just a picture of flowers, but that doesn't tell anything about who I am as a person or what I offer. So I updated it to an updated photo, which I'll show you in a second, which tells people a little bit more about me and starts that conversation. I have some headline examples that I really love. This was just on my feed this morning, so a shout out to Rick, Tara, and Kathy. I think you guys all have really great headlines, so making sure that this little, byline underneath your name really tells who you are, what you do, and what you value, what you're passionate about. So that's also valuable real estate. I've seen some not really great headlines. I'm like, I'm not quite sure what you do based on that. I have to click on your profile to figure it out. So make sure you're optimizing that. Add a web link to your profile. On mine, I have a link to the Tag Talk blog. So that just gives someone something that they can interact with when they come to your profile. You can see Rick here has visit his website. So it's a great way to get people to continue to interacting with Rick when they see his posts. Get your profile verified. I think you can do this through the app. This helps you have better visibility. That's a little bit of a given. If you haven't downloaded the LinkedIn app, I would highly recommend downloading that. There's actually a QR code scanner in there that you just go in the app, you bring up the QR code. If you meet someone on site in an event, they can just scan that QR code and it takes them right to your LinkedIn page so that they can connect with you. So I think that's a really great way to start building your LinkedIn following. Super, super easy. This is kind of a secret little tip that I have. So I was chatting with this one keynote speaker named Robin Shear. And what she does is she sends voice messages back to people. So not always, some of them are written, but she sent me this voicemail message once in LinkedIn. And she said, "Hey Megan, I'm on the road. I don't have a lot of time, but I really wanted to send you this voicemail back about the message that I just sent." And it felt a little bit more personal to me, and I was able to hear her voice, and it felt more personable. So if you ever want to play around with that, you can do that. Schedule out your LinkedIn posts. If LinkedIn posting is a lot for you, just go ahead and schedule them out and make sure that they're good to go for the week. When you connect with people, utilize that comment. So like, hey, we met at so-and-so event. We chatted about this. Let's connect. Makes it a little bit more personable when you reach out. And lastly, get inspiration from other speakers. If you're not sure what you'd like to post about, or you want to see, what other people are doing, take a look at their profiles and see what they're posting, get some inspiration. Here's a little snippet of my profile. So I just recently updated my banner to this event connection snippet that I took. So I'm hoping this is kind of like an opener of, hey, I see that you have a podcast. Tell me a little bit more about that. Good profile picture. I have like a kind of like a fun byline, like I'm a content marketing guru and events enthusiast, because then it tells people I'm interested in content marketing and events. I have a URL that people can click on if they want to learn more about the Tag Talk blog. If you don't have recommendations or posting your publications, that's a pretty easy win that you can get out there. That's pretty self-explanatory. All right. So that is the session of all the different tips that I have for you all. Just in review on the side, here's all the different things that we talked about today. I hope that you learned a thing or two that you can take back to your jobs and implement right away to improve your personal branding. So I want to check in one more time. After this session, how do you feel that you would rate your personal branding confidence? And you can pop this in the chat. Do a number one through 10. Okay, wow, we're seeing some high numbers. That's impressive. Awesome. I definitely feel like these are higher than what we started with. So that's awesome. And I know this feels like a lot. Maybe you just start small, even if you just want to focus on posting once per week, or maybe you just write one article this month. That's great. If you'd like to stay connected, I would love if you followed the Tag Talk blog. That's PC Nametag's educational blog that we have. And if you want to scan this later, I can send you the slides. Or if you want to connect with me on LinkedIn, I'd love to learn a little bit more about you and stay connected with you all. All right. I know we're a little bit short on time, so I will do this really quickly, or you can do it after the session is wrapped up. So I wanted to do this little scenario, and I made it for fun because sometimes it's hard to kind of brainstorm content ideas when you have like a more serious subject. So maybe I'll keep this so that if you want to kind of play around with thinking of content ideas and just have fun with it, and then you can, shift that more to more of a serious take and have it geared more towards your business. So I think I'm going to skip this because I want to have time for questions. But if you want to have a little content marketing brainstorming session, you can lead yourself in this later. All right. So I wanted to do a little prize drawing, which I'm going to reveal what the prize drawing is. So the prize that I thought I could give away is we're going to have 3 custom badge ribbon packs given away today, and they're going to feature your own name, your own branding, your own logo. So if you're not familiar what a badge ribbon is, it's these little accessories that you can stick to the bottom of your badge. And I'm hoping that with these fun badge ribbons, if you give a keynote speech and you want to have people come to your table afterwards and they chat with you, you can give them a little giveaway. So I'm trying to think how I might do the picking people. I got a little bit carried away, but the first person that I noted that participated in the target activity was Sherry Neal. So I think you'll be one of the winners. Cool. All right. I think what I'll do, I was going to write down who interacted in the workshop, but I know we're a little bit short on time. So I think I'm going to close my eyes and randomly pick someone who left a comment in the chat. Okay. Amber Sweener is who I came upon. Okay, so great, congratulations, Amber. Okay, you're our second winner. Our first one was Sherry, and then the third winner is going to be Cindy Rowe. Congratulations, Cindy. All right, awesome. I will get your email addresses after the presentation, and we'll reach out to you to figure out your artwork, and we'll have our graphic designer put together the artwork for you, so you won't have to do too much.
So nice. So nice. Hey, when you unshare your screen for a moment, and I'd love for you to take a few minutes for questions.
Yes, I think
I
we have
do
about
want to make
50.
sure of all the people who are still gathered, because I know a couple people dropped off to get a photo. We always love sharing there we are. So pop those screens on, friends, before we go into the Q&A. Love to see your happy smiling faces. Amber had to leave, but she charged me with this little activity. So let's get everybody on if we can. There's almost everybody. Camera's on. Awesome. Just a moment. Okay, looks sparkly. Here we go. Ready? I'm gonna on the count of 3. 1, 2, and 3. All right, just one more. Let me make sure I've got that. Because, sometimes mom's not always great with the camera, my kids will tell me. Okay, one more. Boop, boop. 1, 2, and 3. Thanks, everybody. Fantastic.
Awesome. Thank you all so much. I know it means a lot to me that you all took time out of your day to learn little bit more about personal branding. And I hope through content marketing, all of these different things are organic marketing. You can do most of it for free. So by promoting yourself through your content, you can help increase your visibility with people who book speakers. Thank you, Roger. Thank you, Grace. Wonderful. Well, I'm happy to stay on for questions. If you have to log off, feel free. But if anyone has any specific questions about anything that I covered today, I'd love to chat about it. Oh,
Hey,
Tara, go ahead.
Megan. Great job. Thank you. I really enjoyed your session and I took notes. Well done. One
Lovely,
thing that I
thank
was
you.
hoping that maybe you could mention for the folks on today, because this is something that I see is when they don't have that customized URL on LinkedIn. Could you maybe just share with folks how they can do that? Because that's such an important little tip to make their profile easier to find.
That's great. I believe you can go into your LinkedIn settings and you can type what you want your own shortened end of your URL to be. So as long as it's not taken, you can just type in, I just would do your first name dash your last name. That keeps it pretty simple. But if that's taken, you can always get a little bit more creative with it. Maybe do your first, middle, last. But I think if you go into your settings, you should be able to update it. But that is a really great
Yes.
point, Tara. And maybe if you, let's say you have a really long first and last name, you could always do a shortened URL of your LinkedIn. So I just use bit.ly. So you can put in that URL, it auto shortens it for you, and it's a lot easier to type in, or it looks nicer just that it's shorter. And then you can share that wherever you'd like.
Looks like Grace has a hand raised
Go
too.
ahead, Grace.
Hi, and I'm sorry I'm not camera ready. I came from physical therapy and I look like I need an ambulance. So I'm going to just talk. Anyway, so my question is, I spoke to get my projects paid for. I wasn't a paid speaker, if that makes any sense.
Mm-hmm.
What I have found in NSA, Wisconsin, a place for people to very nicely, sometimes sharply, but very nicely, that's different than being a paid speaker. Okay. So that has been a journey and trial and error, mostly error, but that's okay. We're still working it. But when I listen to people like you, I go, yeah. And then I'm like, okay, now I'm going to sit in the corner and suck my thumb. Because I have a lot of this, but it's not that. It's like I have to make a transition. I'd be better off if I was a virgin on a number of levels, but I am not. So it's how do you look at your process, your subject with like fresh eyes, or how you need to make that transition with all of this great stuff, because the stuff I have as it certainly stands won't fit.
What are some examples of the things that you do have? I'm just curious.
Okay, so I do affordable housing. And
Mm-hmm.
right now, it used to be that parts of the country were affordable and parts weren't. Now there's nobody that has affordable housing, okay? And it's such a crisis in decades making, and there are not a lot of us old timers, because I'm old, who know what the solution is or know how to put together a project. So so I used to say, here's my project, buy my project, pay me. Now it's, I need to re-educate people about what the problems are, usually regionally, sometimes locally. So the paid consultant, paid speaker part won't have their solution, which is what I used to pitch. And now I have to educate them on how to get a solution or
Got
who
it.
they need. So I'm the pre-person, if that makes any sense.
Right. That makes sense. In the world of marketing, if you're not familiar with marketing, we have this thing called the marketing funnel. So it kind of starts here and it comes down to a point. So people are at different stages of the marketing funnel. If they're at the top, they're just looking to be educated. They're not ready to buy. They're not ready to look at solutions. They just want to be inspired. I think that's where a lot of content resides. So what I would think about in your situation is what are those things people would need to know about affordable housing 101? Like go way back to the basics and focus on those as far as content. So they're like, okay, Grace knows a lot about this. I'm going to reach out to her and I'm going to start that conversation. So I almost see them as kind of like an intro to who you are and what you do and what you specialize in so that you can start creating that
That's
relationship with people. So I
that's
would
great
say,
advice, Megan.
yeah, if you're just feeling
So
completely
YouTube would
stuck,
be my
I would say
first
just use
go-to.
ChatGPT. Just say, hey, I'm looking to create content about affordable housing. What are 5 articles I could write? What's a newsletter example I could write? Just see what it
Yeah,
suggests and
that's great
tailor
advice.
it to your best fit.
Sounds
Perfect.
perfect. Thank you.
We have another question from Lindsay Retzloff.
Hi, thanks for your presentation today. It was good.
Thank you for coming.
Yeah. My question is when you were okay, so I'm a therapist and I have 3 different services. So obviously mental health is my topic. I provide therapy,
Got
I
it.
do speaking in organizations, and I also have a coaching program. So my question
Yeah.
is there a framework or something that I could follow to it feels like I'm putting out content to these 3 different personas and it's so much content.
Mm-hmm.
Like what I was thinking, and tell me if there's a better way, is like trying to come up with like the topic is kind of like the skill or the solution or the mindset or whatever it is that that person needs to change, keeping that consistent and then tailoring the message a little bit for the audience on each post. I just wanted some better ways to kind of conceptualize this and make it easier.
That makes sense. I have kind of had some struggles with this over the years, and I think it's hard to write something for every single person. That's just a lot. So that kind of brings me back to when I started in my job, I was posting the same content on every single platform, and that got to be too much. So I'm like, okay, let me take a step back. I'm seeing a lot of growth on LinkedIn. I'm seeing a lot of growth on Instagram. I'm just going to focus on those for the next year. Like I'll still post some things to other platforms, but I'm just going to make these 2 things my bread and butter because that's where my event planners are. So I would say maybe take a step back and see the things that are a little bit more realistic for you. One thing that I did for my social platforms that I would recommend to others is I put together mission statements for each of my social platforms that I use on behalf of PC Name Tag. So, for example, my LinkedIn statement was I am on here to educate and inspire people. Whereas on Instagram, people aren't looking to be educated, they're looking for inspiration. They want visual examples of how to make their badges more interesting. So, I would say, kind of coming down to like tailoring what you're putting on each platform, I would think about who's on the platform, what do they want, and maybe instead of writing towards every single one of those people, you take a step back and say, okay, I know this subject would probably appeal to a majority of those people. Maybe I'll just stick with that and kind of take some things off my plate.
Okay, great. Thank you so much.
Yeah, for sure. If you ever want to have a more in-depth chat, we can always grab a time for a coffee chat or anything.
Thank you.
Thank you, Lindsay.
Well, Megan, on behalf of NSA Wisconsin, we wanted to thank you again for your time. If there aren't any more questions, we would love to just give you a round of applause and thank you again. We look forward to seeing you in person. We look forward to seeing many of you in person on September 10th. Remember, registration is open. And with that, have a wonderful afternoon, everyone.
Thank you so much. I'll send the slide deck out to everybody if you want to click on some links.
Sounds good. All
Great.
right.
Thank you so
Take
much,
care.
Sheena.
You bet.